If I asked you the question, what is the greatest invention of humanity? What would be your best answer? There are millions of options. Would it be fire? Because it gives us warmth, protection, and the ability to cook our meals? Or maybe you would choose the wheel, because it was the force that kickstarted commerce, transportation, and trade? Although both are excellent choices, most of the time, when we think about humanity's greatest inventions, we tend to forget one of the most important of all: money. The money. Money is an illusion, but unlike other great human inventions, money is intangible. Perhaps that's why we often don't consider it the same way we do other incredible inventions. Things like fire and the wheel are tangible, but money is not. Money is just an idea, an illusion with no inherent value, determined only by the importance we place on it, or at least money as we know it today. However, the fact that money is an illusion does not diminish its importance or value in any way. The barter system and its limitations. Before we created money, we were forced to trade goods and services directly in what we call the barter system. People exchanged goods and services for other goods and services in return. Since there was no fixed value assigned to items, each trade was determined by what each party was willing to give up for something they wanted. It was almost like a game. If I wanted some of your vegetables for dinner but only raised livestock, I would have to give you one of my animals in exchange for bags of vegetables. If I needed shoes but only made tents, I would have to trade an entire tent for a pair of sandals. This game happened all the time, and we can already see one of the biggest problems with this system: asymmetry. As a tent maker, I would feel unfairly treated if I had to trade an entire shelter for just a pair of shoes. Since there was no standardized medium of exchange, it was very difficult for two people who needed something from each other to reach an agreement. Moreover, we depended on a double coincidence of wants, finding someone who wanted exactly what I had and who had exactly what I wanted at the same time. Not only was this extremely difficult, but it also made trading highly inefficient. Storing wealth and the arrival of commodity money. Money is not just a means of exchange. It is also a store of value. Before money was invented, some people couldn't store or preserve their wealth, no matter how much effort they put in. Think about a tomato farmer and a tent maker. The tent maker could build multiple shelters and trade them throughout the year, accumulating wealth. But the tomato farmer could only trade when his produce was in season. And since tomatoes have an expiration date, he couldn't store them for long. So, even though he worked just as hard as the tent maker, he couldn't maintain his wealth over time. And there was another problem: owning something that very few people wanted. Today, when starting a business, we are advised to find a niche market. But before the invention of money, following that advice could mean ending up with nothing to trade. The wealthiest people were those who owned goods that everyone wanted, such as weapons, animal pelts, and salt. Since these items were widely desired, people began accumulating them, even if they didn't need them at the moment, just to trade them later. And thus, commodity money was born. People started trading goods and services for commonly accepted items like salt or weapons, and then using those items to acquire what they really wanted. Over time, they began using shells, beads, and other small collectible objects. Humanity had found a better way to trade. The need for scarcity and the emergence of coins. However, there was a problem with this method of exchange. For money to have value, it needed to be scarce. The harder something was to find, the more valuable it became. The more available something was, the less valuable it was. This is basic economics. If anyone can easily get something, it can't be worth much. That's why things like sand or seashells, found on any beach weren't good measures of value. Around 770 BC, the first metal coins were created in China. Initially, they were small versions of tools that had already been used as money. They were shaped into circles so they could be easily carried in a pocket without hurting one's fingers. And they were made of bronze. This time, money had real value. A coin was worth exactly the weight of the metal it was made of. But kings and rulers quickly discovered the power of money. In 600 BC, King Alyattes of Lydia created the first official mint. He produced coins by mixing silver and gold and stamped an image on them to define their values. This allowed people to identify the value of a coin simply by looking at it. The illusion of money and the rise of fiat currency. But kings wanted more money. Since precious metals were expensive, they started thinning the coins and mixing valuable metals with cheaper ones. Over time, all coins became worth less than what was stamped on them. And so, the illusion of money was born. The value of coins was no longer determined by the metal, but by what kings and banks declared them to be worth. Eventually, paper money emerged. The famous IOU certificates, IOU. People started trusting the value of these notes even without exchanging them for gold or silver. And so, from ancient kings to modern governments and central banks, money has always been an illusion, a mere symbol whose value depends on the importance that people assign to it. The illusion of money and the impact of inflation. The value of money. Today, let's talk about the $10,000 Singapore note. Even though it is no longer in production, this single piece of paper is still legal tender and currently worth approximately $7,345. This means it can be used to buy valuable things like houses, cars, and even precious metals like gold. The curious part? The banknote itself costs less than 20 cents to produce, but due to the illusion of the fiat currency system, it holds a value equivalent to 120 grams of gold. That's nothing compared to what it's actually worth, right? The term fiat is a sophisticated way to describe this modern illusion. It comes from Latin and means, let it be done. In other words, it is a government decree that assigns value to money and enforces it as legal currency. The illusion of money. The power of money is something we rarely question. But just like the kings of the past, today's governments understand its influence, and, of course, they always want more. They know that the more of these banknotes you have, the more power you have. So what do? They simply create more money out of thin air, the infamous uncontrolled money printing. Inflation, the problem of creating money out of nothing. For example, if the US government wanted $340 million to buy another F-22 fighter jet, they could simply print that money. The problem? Inflation. For money to be considered valuable, it must be a reliable medium of exchange. This means that the amount of money in circulation should reflect the production of goods and services in the economy. If the government prints more money than the economy produces in goods and services, prices rise, and the value of money falls. That's why economists and everyday citizens worry so much about the US dollar, the world's primary reserve currency. The 2020 crisis and the printing of money. The year 2020 was a disaster for the entire world. With the pandemic, the global economy slowed down drastically. There was less money circulating, so to prevent economic collapse, the US government printed money at an unprecedented rate. Currently, 40% of all US dollars in existence were printed in the last 18 months. That's insane. Since the US economy did not significantly increase its production, the prices of goods and services began to skyrocket. The first signs of inflation. This inflation can be seen in the rising prices of raw materials, such as lumber, which tripled in price in just 1 year. If you pay attention, you'll notice that prices at your favorite restaurants have quietly increased. From a consumer's perspective, some manufacturers keep the price the same but reduce the quantity in each package. That's a strategy. For example, the bag of chips that used to cost $3 for 100g now costs the same $3, but with only 80g. Let's look at another example. At Chipotle, the price of guacamole might have increased by just 20 cents, but this inflation is happening right before our eyes. At first, government stimulus checks and unemployment benefits seemed like a great idea. But this solution has a dangerous side effect: the job market dilemma. Because of inflation and the economic crisis, many people struggle to find adequate jobs. Not because they don't want to work, but because, in some cases, unemployment benefits pay more than the job itself. In the US, for example, waiters and waitresses are not legally required to receive even minimum wage. Some earn only $2 to $3 per hour, relying on tips to survive. But with restrictions and fewer people dining out, there are fewer customers and therefore fewer tips. If employees don't make enough money, they quit. If businesses don't have employees, they close down. It's a domino effect. So, if you can earn more money by staying unemployed, why would you even look for a job? The role of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, the U.S. central bank, has a clever and discreet way of creating money and injecting it into the economy without people noticing. Before 2020, the U.S. was already $29 trillion in debt. This astronomical amount is funded through government bonds, which are basically promises that the government will pay back a certain amount with interest in the future. Currently, a 10-year U.S. Treasury bond offers a 1.23% annual return. That means if you invest $1,000 today, you will have only $1,012 in 2031. Even worse, inflation outpaces these returns. The government aims to keep inflation at 2% per year, but the reality is much higher. So, if you invest in government bonds, you are actually losing purchasing power over time. But despite this, banks, companies, and investors still buy these bonds, and the government uses this money however it wants. Growing debt and money printing. When it's time to repay its debt, the government has already spent all the money. So, it buys back the bonds from major financial institutions and pays for them with newly created money. Money that did not exist before. Since March 2020, the Federal Reserve has repurchased over $1 trillion in bonds and plans to continue doing so. With this new money, banks can offer more loans, earn more interest, and stimulate the economy. But this also increases the amount of money in circulation, reducing the value of each dollar. With trillions of dollars being injected into the economy through stimulus and infrastructure packages, the question remains, how long can this continue? The continuous devaluation of money. Every newly printed bill steals value from our money. Your bank balance doesn't change, but due to inflation, you can buy less and less with that money. Money is an illusion, and understanding this is crucial to achieving financial freedom. The game never ends. Money has no intrinsic value. It's only worth what we believe it is worth. Keeping your wealth in fiat currency is a mistake. The only way to win this game is to invest in assets that grow faster than inflation. But it's not really winning, it's just avoiding total loss. As more money is printed, the value of every dollar in your pocket keeps shrinking. Meanwhile, global asset prices keep rising. The stock market may look like it's in an endless bull run, but in reality, everything is denominated in a currency that is slowly dying. If we measure the Dow Jones Index, which tracks the 30 largest US companies, in gold, we're still at the same level as in 1997. In other words, it's all an illusion. The future of money. The big questions are, with fiat currency and its unlimited supply, will the value of money continue to decline forever? Will the wealth gap between the rich and the poor keep widening? Or will we finally solve this ancient problem and stop trusting our wealth to governments that destroy it daily? But remember, there is a way out. Keep the pressure on. What are you really doing with your money? Are you controlling it, Or is it controlling you? Are you truly living your best life? Or just surviving, waiting for the next paycheck? If there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that money isn't just paper. It's a reflection of your mindset, your choices, and how you see the world. Those who understand this thrive. Those who don't stay stuck in the same cycle for years. But don't worry. I'm about to give you 5 mind-blowing tasks that will completely change your relationship with money. The 5 tasks for financial freedom. First, put a price on your time. Think about it. How much is 1 hour of your life worth? If you work for money but don't know the value of your time, someone else will decide for you. And trust me, they'll underpay you. Starting today, define your worth and only accept opportunities that move you toward higher earnings. C-count. Cut invisible expenses stealing your future. Useless subscriptions, small $10 payments that add up, credit card interest, impulse spending. Grab your bank statement right now and see where your money is really going. If it's not helping you move forward, cut it today. Third, turn expenses into investments. If you have to spend money, do it strategically. Streaming subscription? Only if it teaches you something. New phone? Only if it helps your work. Expensive clothes? Only if they boost your professional image. Every dollar you spend should bring value back. Otherwise, it's financial garbage. Fourth, multiply your money while you sleep. If your money isn't working for you, you're a slave to it. Start investing today. If you're new, take a portion of your money and put it into a safe investment like treasury bonds. Then, learn about stocks and assets that generate passive income. But the key is to start now. Fifth, decide who you want to be. Everyone wants to be rich, but few are willing to think and act like the wealthy. Your mindset is everything. Stop thinking like someone who just pays bills and start thinking like someone building wealth. Write this down. What's my financial goal for the next 12 months? Put it on your mirror. Only those with clarity win. Now tell me, which of these tasks hit you the hardest? Which one will you apply today? Drop a comment below. And if this video made you think, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with at least 3 people who need a financial wake-up call. Subscribe to the channel because every month, I bring powerful insights to help you make your money work for you. Like the video and turn on notifications so you don't miss any life-changing content.